On today's episode, I want to talk about how you can potentially get free money from the government. So let's go. Now, this isn't something that might work worldwide. I can only talk about my own experience from doing this, but if you are in the UK, you can potentially get money for free from your own council. Now, for people who might not be in the UK and watching this video, and this could apply for your country because there could be kind of schemes for the same type of businesses, but here in the UK, we could potentially get grants, which basically means that we can be given money to help grow our business. Now, I'll talk a little bit about that because not a lot of people know about it, and it's something that I never knew at the start, but somebody told me about, and then I basically applied and I was able to get funding. So I'll tell you a little bit about the grants that I'm aware of, and there's two parts of this. So every single local council has a kind of pot of money where that pot of money helps the smaller businesses or even medium-sized businesses in the city in order to help grow through the city, because it helps from an economic standpoint. More money that comes into that business, the more money that they get off things like VAT and taxes and so forth. So it has that interest that they are obviously making money. It also helps employment, and this is where a lot of businesses get funding for, is to actually help create more jobs. Now, that is obviously the aim of any business, is obviously to grow, and in order to grow, we obviously need resources in order to expand out the team. So the schemes that I've kind of looked at over the kind of couple of years is for my own, which is we're based in a city called Leeds here in the UK. So we have to look at Leeds City Council and the kind of surrounding areas. Now, this could work for London, it could work for Manchester, or wherever you are, but you might just need to do some research around your own kind of council's funding. But let me go back to it. So there's a couple of ones that I've kind of done. The first one was a kind of a small grant, which is basically for small businesses who are basically looking to take that next step. And there's two sites that I basically found who can help me with this. One's called Adventure, and I'll put the links on below. And the other one is theleap.com. And these are basically two sites where they work with the European Union in order to fund small businesses. And they don't give out millions. I mean, I wish they did, but every little kind of grant that we've had so far to help the business and help grow it helps buy us things like the camera equipment, it helps us buy computers for design purposes. And what they basically want to do is make sure that the equipment that you're going to purchase with these grant funding is going to help the business grow, and then obviously then create new jobs. So if I was saying I wanted a new videographer, for example, and if I was to get a new camera, that will help us get a videographer as well as a MacBook, because that's obviously how they're going to do the editing. So what they do is that they want to assess the business first, and they do that by asking for a business plan, or they might give you an application form for you to kind of describe the business. They then ask for projections based on where you think the business is going to go in like year 1, 2, and 3, or currently where you are. So if it's pre-existing business from the current business, kind of forecasting to year 3 onwards or 3 years in the future. They also want to know how the money will then help grow, and how many potential staff members you could hire if you were to get this money or this funding. Now, there is a bit of a trick. It's not all funding directly to your bank account. A lot of these grant schemes require a matching. Now, what matching basically means is if I was to give you £5,000 from the council, or $5,000, or however you want to word it, we would have to match that first. So we have to get that money first, and then they would match it. So this can actually go up to, I believe, on some schemes, up to £50,000. So I'm just looking at one now, for example, and one here says that any grants between £500 to £50,000 is potential. Now, these grants change all the time. As soon as the money kind of runs out from the council, they would either start a new scheme, or they would basically stop, and then they'll kind of say there's no more funding available until the next year, for example. So always keeping an eye out on these is definitely something for you to look into. We've had two so far. So we've had one for the small amount, which was £5,000, and basically what I did is set my business plan out, told them this is how many staff members we're looking to achieve if we were to receive the grant, and we have. So we got the equipment, and luckily we then were able to hire, and that person then has brought an X amount of money because of this equipment that we've had. We're able to record these podcasts with that equipment as well, and these videos, and all these kind of shoots that we go on with our clients. We're able to use the equipment that was given to us by the grant. And I don't know if I was, especially when starting, I don't know if we were able to afford these types of equipment if it wasn't for it. So what I would say is just Google it, type in like the local council that you're in, and if it works worldwide, have a look into it. Just basically look into business grants, business funding, and see what's available to you, because I don't think people realize that your government wants you to succeed because they want growth, because it creates a lot more jobs. And that's basically the simple way of putting it. There's obviously a lot more complications or complicated things that you need to look into if you want to do more research, but from a kind of general perspective, that's kind of the gist of it. So if you are in Leeds and you do ever want to ask any questions, or even if you're in any of this country or even within the UK and you want to ask some questions around this grant purpose, drop a comment below. Definitely like and subscribe if you want more content like this. But one tip just before I go is, what you can do is, say for example, if you're an agency like us, and this is how I actually found out about the grants, you can approach like somebody over LinkedIn, for example, as a business owner and say, hey, do you know that this grant's available to your business for a new website? And if you're a website designer, if you are successful with the grant, you have to then evidence to say that you're actually going to spend this money on a new website. I'll be able to give you a quotation, and if you are successful, I'll be able to do the work. And it's a little trick, and that's how that person made me aware of the situation. And I've always thought about that, because one thing you can do is use it for marketing. So it's something that I'm looking to do in the future, is basically tell people about the grants when they become available in Leeds again, and then say, if you were to be successful with that funding, then please use us as the agency to do your marketing for, because one, you know they've got the money, and two, you've done them a favor by helping them, supporting them get this money, and giving them the advice to say it's there. So it's a win-win for everybody. From the person who's applied for the funding, they get some extra money towards their business, and from our perspective as an agency or a freelancer or whatever you want to call yourself, is that you can then obviously approach that person to get that funding. So on that note, like I said before, please like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you soon.